Happy Thursday, everyone. Hey, it's the National Day of Prayer. Make every effort to be part of a venue and other Christians praying for our nation. Anyway, my wife accuses me of not being able to multitask, that I can only focus on one thing at a time. And I assume I must admit that she's probably right. However, Jesus is not that way. And today we'll see an example of Jesus' multitasking. Hi, I'm Pastor Mark with Heights Christian Church. We are going through the Bible in 5 years. We would love it if you would subscribe to this channel. And we now have over 100 members subscribe to our channel. We'd love for you to be a part of that. You would get a notification every day that we are reading the Bible together as a congregation, as a body of believers, so that we can get to the Bible in 5 years, because we want to know the scriptures better than we do now. It'll help us to discern what's truth and what is not. So anyway, we are going through the Bible, and we are going through Mark. We're in the second half of chapter 5 of Mark, and so let's read it together. Sound good? When Jesus had again crossed over by boat to the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him while he was by the lake. Then one of the synagogue leaders, named Jairus, came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. He pleaded earnestly with him, "My little daughter is dying. Please come, put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live." So Jesus went with him. A large crowd followed and pressed around him, and a woman who was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" "You see the people crowding against you," his disciple answered, "and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet. Trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." While Jesus was still speaking, some people came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. "Your daughter is dead," they said. "Why bother the teacher anymore?" Overhearing what they said, Jesus told him, "Don't be afraid, just believe." He did not let anyone follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the house of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw a commotion with people crying and wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, "Why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep." But they laughed at him. After he put them out, he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately, the girl stood up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. At this, they were completely astonished. He gave strict orders not to let anyone know about this and told them to give her something to eat. Wow, what a great story. But what we see here is that in these episodes with which Mark is sharing with us, is that the different areas with which Jesus is sovereign. He's sovereign over the wind and the waves. He is sovereign over demonic forces. And at this point, he is sovereign over everything that can take his attention away from what he's doing. He's got a guy coming up saying, "Hey, my daughter is dying. Please come help her." As he's headed that way, he feels his power, the power of God being pulled from him. He turns to, "Who touched me? Who touched me?" And they're like, "I don't know." And so as they're doing that, the woman comes forward and she figures out that she's been healed just by touching his cloak. Jesus doesn't even have to be as aware as he is in other healing episodes. Just his very presence, the presence of God, changes her whole direction, her health. And so we can see that in, a funny way, Jesus is multitasking and getting a lot of stuff done and helping a bunch of people, not just one at a time. He's able to be all over the place at any given time because that's just what God does. Can you imagine any number of prayers at any given time of over 7 billion people in the planet, and God takes care of, hears all of them all at the same time? That's how great our God is. And that's something that, as you always cry out to God, as you pray to God for your needs or for interceding for somebody else or just praise, God is there. He's giving you attention and he is receiving that. And I just think that's amazing. And that's why our God is so amazing and he needs to be given honor, praise, and glory. Well, those are my encouraging words for you today. I hope that you have a time to go pray. Here at Heights, we are going to have a 6:30 meeting, and we're going to pray for our nation in 7 different ways. We're going to have a wonderful worship. We would love for you to attend if you're in the Albuquerque area. If not, wherever you are, find a venue, find other Christians, and pray together with them. All right, have a great one. We'll see you Friday.